What do object oriented programming and test driven development have in common? For one, you're about to learn both of them. But more importantly, fluency in these two modern approaches to software development allows you to create application code that's easy to understand, easy to extend, and that works exactly as you intend it to. Let's take a look at OOP and TDD in the context of JavaScript. JavaScript is a relatively new star in the galaxy of programming languages. Born in 1995, it was preceded by more than 40 years of high level programming language evolution. JavaScript inherited many powerful features from its ancestors, including support for object oriented programming. But what is object oriented programming? Here's a formal definition: a programming paradigm based on the concept of objects, which can contain variables called properties and functions called methods. That's a little tough to understand on its own, I know. Let's relate this to a real world example. Take a look around the room you're in right now, and you'll probably notice that you're surrounded by objects. Perhaps you're working on a laptop computer. Is there a mobile phone nearby? Pens and paper? A half eaten donut next to a coffee cup? What if I told you that all of those objects could be represented as code in JavaScript? Take that coffee cup, for instance. How would you describe it? Maybe it's blue. It says world's best developer on it. It's full of coffee and warm to the touch. Here's your coffee cup object in JavaScript. What about coffee cups that are different than yours? No problem whatsoever. You can use an object-oriented programming concept called a class, which is like a blueprint or prototype for an object, which allows us to define an abstract notion of a coffee cup. Here's how you might do that in JavaScript. Using this class, you could create your own personal coffee cup like this. In JavaScript, you can use this technique to create all kinds of objects, such as employees, cars, monsters, customers, and database records. The possibilities are absolutely endless. So, you may wonder, how does this help us as developers? For one, being able to structure data and functionality into objects helps us more easily understand our code. Objects help us visualize logic using metaphors that are familiar in real life. Objects also help us organize our code base. For example, you could put all of your employee classes in one directory and all of your reports classes in another. And that's just the beginning. Objects are also easy to test. Speaking of testing, now let's talk test-driven development, or TDD. Test-driven development is another classic programming concept that JavaScript incorporates through the use of Node Package Manager modules. Test-driven development dictates that you write tests for your code first, and then you write just enough code to pass the test. This may sound crazy, writing code in order to write even more code, but trust me, it does pay off. This process helps you think very carefully about the code as you write it and produces nearly bulletproof software. Test-driven development, like object-oriented programming, is a super hot developer skill. In addition to leveling up your programming skills, knowing these concepts will help you stand out amongst competitors when you enter the job market. So finish that donut and refill your coffee cup. We've got some objects to test.